Hi there, my name is Rae-Mi and I am just a regular Catholic who loves to share my faith. And today I want to talk about joy. And I'm going to bring up this book again. It's like the third video I've brought up this book, but I'm just loving it so much. The Road of Hope by Francis Xavier Nguyen Van Thuan. He was an archbishop. I think he eventually became a cardinal, but he spent 13 years in prison, 9 of those years in solitary confinement. And he wrote while he was in there, and that's what is in this book. And he wrote a chapter on joy. And what's really funny is, as I was getting ready to tell you about it, I couldn't help but think of St. Paul in Philippians, where he says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say, rejoice." And every time we read that at Mass, somebody brings up the fact that he writes that in prison, and it's like St. Paul is telling everyone to rejoice, and he's in prison at the time. It's not like he's having a party, and it's so ironic that here we go. We have like a St. Paul of our time doing the same thing. Here he is in prison writing about joy. And joy is so important. I think sometimes us Catholics can just get so serious and forget how amazing and wonderful and exciting and joyful it is that we get to be a part of this. It's like, I can't believe I get to go to Mass every Sunday into this time and space that's really like outside of time, and be a part of this story, the scriptures. And God called me here. Blessed are those called to the supper of the Lamb, and where is that joy in your body and your face and the way you go to Mass and the way you experience Mass and just in your life, because you know that you belong to God. You are His. And no matter what happens in your life, like, it doesn't even matter if it's good, bad, like, that's always going to be true. And that should give us this incredible joy, a supernatural joy that just is beyond all circumstances. And I think as Catholics, we need to not be afraid to express that in what we do and who we are, and especially when we're at Mass. I mean, where are those smiles on your faces at Mass? Come on, and sometimes we can be so critical of others and of ourselves, but it is a gift. It's a gift of the Holy Spirit, and if you do have trouble, with that, pray for that gift. Ask God for that gift of joy, because He wants to give it to you. He wants you to be joyful. He loves you, right? So why wouldn't He want you to be joyful? But without further ado, I'm going to jump into what Francis Xavier Nguyen Van Thuan says about joy from prison, okay? And I just want to show you how much I love this book. Look at, I'm circling every single thing. I'm like, I'm going to circle just the parts I like, and it's like, oh, it's every part, So anyways, he says, holiness entails neither long faces nor being sad and miserable. Holiness consists rather in being continuously happy because it is the possession of God. I think that's so great. I think that we think, oh, if I'm super holy, I gotta be this serious person, I gotta be miserable and sad and that's, he's saying, no, it doesn't, require that. That's a requirement of holiness. It's okay. You can smile and you can laugh and you can be joyful and still be very holy. Okay. He says, do not be downcast. If only you would have a supernatural outlook, you would see everything in a new light. I say this all the time. And I mean, the things I say are not because I've mastered them necessarily, but it's just something, sometimes I need to say it for me too. But I always say having an eternal perspective in life, in everything we do, not just thinking about like what am I gaining right this second. It's more about what is this in the eternal picture of things? How does this fit in? And maybe in a worldly perspective, it doesn't look good, but from an eternal perspective, I'm getting closer to God, so it's actually the best thing I could do. So that's what he's saying here. If you have that supernatural outlook, everything looks different. So that's something that we can all continue to practice when we are faced with different situations, different decisions, and things like that. He says, "Why are you unhappy? Is it because something is disturbing your relationship with God? In that case, examine yourself to see at once what it is." So, what he's saying here is that, ask yourself if you're feeling unhappy, why am I unhappy? And if it's because something's disturbing your relationship with God, like address it right away, like find out what it is. But if it's not, he doesn't say this, but if it's not disturbing your relationship with God, then find out how it's getting you closer to God. And then it gives you that eternal perspective once again. So in either case, you can fall right back into joy again. He says, you should always be happy. The road of hope is a joyful road which admits no sadness. So really, I just love how he's talking about, the road of hope, holiness, the pathway to God is a happy one. It's a joyful one. He says, when you are successful, give thanks to God. When you fail, likewise, give thanks to God. For it is when you fail that he tests your commitment to his work. Interesting. In fact, to be joyful and courageous during times of failure is much more difficult than being joyful in times of good fortune. You can count the number of heroes of the first kind with the fingers of one hand. Man, I would love to be one of those people. I'm going to keep working on it. It's really hard to still be joyful when you feel like something's failed. And I just love this reminder. And I love the reminder, too, that you can look at it as like, okay, God's testing my commitment. Like this didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Maybe from a worldly perspective, I failed. I didn't get to the goal I set out. I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. That's not God's concern, really. Can you still love me? Can you still be grateful? Can you still thank me and trust me even when you failed, even when your project failed, and you're not a failure. Maybe the project you didn't go the way you thought, but maybe that's what he wants. Maybe you don't know what's best. Maybe you think that's what's best, but he has something better planned. So having that trust in him is what he's really looking for there. He says, be happy with those who love you, with those who hate you. When all is joyful and bright for you and your heart suffers deeply, when everyone follows you and when you are alone and abandoned. Lots of opposites there. He says, be happy in all those circumstances. Be happy always and lead everyone you meet to experience the same joy, even if you may often feel brokenhearted. You can have joy even when you feel brokenhearted? Yes, that's what he's saying. Even if you're walking around with a broken heart, you can still have joy. To act in this way requires a greater holiness than all the fasting and acts of self-denial you can perform put together. What? Like, that's incredible. So to have joy in all those circumstances, to have joy even if you're walking around with a broken heart, that's actually greater holiness than all the fasting and acts of self-denial you can perform put together. To have joy when you feel like your heart's been broken into a million pieces, to hear that's holy is really amazing. I love that. Finally, this is the last one. He says, how do you rid yourself of sadness? Pray. Why pray? Because it is through prayer that you come to meet the Lord. just as Mary Magdalene did while searching for his body, or as did the two disciples on the road to Emmaus. In the joy of this meeting, all three of them quickly forgot their grief and distress. I love that. I really love that image of St. Mary Magdalene, my confirmation saint. I've shared that before, where she's searching for his body and just totally distraught. And then he says her name, and she knows it's him, and he's there. Her grief's gone, her distress is gone, and it's the most joy she could possibly experience in that moment. And that's what we're doing when we're praying. It's a form of searching for God. We're searching, we're talking to him, reaching out to him, telling him our struggles and our sorrows, but also the good things and the things we want to be better at, and asking him for help. And that's our way of searching. And that right there is going to lead you to joy, because it leads you to Jesus, who's the greatest joy of our lives. So I hope that you're able to find that joy, to live that joy, to choose that joy, no matter what the circumstances are. Just think of St. Paul and think of my new friend here, who were able to talk about joy and rejoicing even in prison, even in those extreme circumstances. If they can do it, we can do it. All right, so just remember that. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful day. God bless you.